This is Thieves Cant Capers, unlocking the systems behind the stories. Welcome back to Thieves Cant Capers. It is our deep dive into systems, mechanics, and the games behind the stories we share at the table. I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
Glad to have you. It is the Draw Steel Job Part 9. Today we are taking a look at chapters 12 through 14. That would be Downtime Projects, Rewards, and Gods and Religion. We are approaching the end of Book 1, Heroes and MCDM's Draw Steel. Just a reminder, if you want to hear anything else from the basics of Draw Steel to your choice of classes and ancestries, everything in between, go back on the channel. Everything is waiting for you. Chris.
Yes.
We got a chance to build a Draw Steel hero in the last couple episodes of our main show.
Yeah.
Thieves Cant. So not optimized by any choice. Well, I can't say for sure if it's optimized.
I have a feeling we might make some different choices with some additional experience. But
yeah. So if you want to judge our hero build, you should.
It was fun.
But let us know what you think at Thieves Cant Cast and thievescantcast@gmail.com. So with that, you ready to jump in?
I am ready.
Okay, we are taking a look first at Chapter 12, Downtime Projects. What are heroes doing between adventures, right? You can start a project during a respite, and remember, a respite is a 24-hour period of rest during which the heroes are regaining stamina and recoveries. You can't undertake any, strenuous activities, but you can work on a project. You can work on one project at a time, but eventually you might end up powerful enough to hire help to work on additional projects. All downtime projects have prerequisites. And Chris, these come in a couple of forms. It might be an item prerequisite, like a special item that you need in order to complete the task. Like the book gives an example of a wind crystal of quintessence. You need that in order to build an airship. That makes sense? Or
I guess it does.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe it's a project source prerequisite. Projects require access to specific lore that informs how a project should be completed. So that might be an ancient tome or a scroll, or it might be like a tutor who has all the knowledge and is willing to help out, or maybe a master artisan or craftsman to complete the job for you.
Mm-hmm.
Downtime projects also require a project roll. That's a test with its own special outcome. There's no tiered successes like a standard power roll when it comes to a downtime project. The characteristic tied to the roll is determined by the project itself. Chris, you want to break down how that project roll looks?
So the numerical result of the project roll becomes points that are applied to the project. Basically, the project's complete once you accumulate a number of points equal to the project goal.
Makes sense.
So that's what you're shooting for. The project's description should say that. It seems like a lot of this is visible to the players.
Transparent.
It's transparent.
Right. It is gamified. You know what you're trying to pull off.
Now, you can roll a 19 or 20 on the project roll. Easier said than done, right? But if you do that, then you have a breakthrough, and it means that you can make another project roll
immediately. You don't have to wait until the next respite.
Right.
Okay, so that's just like extra progress being made. That's cool.
Yep. So edges and banes grant either a +2 or a -2, a bonus or a penalty, basically.
Right.
Double edges or double banes equate to either a plus or a -4.
Got it.
So it's a little bit different there, but you can.
What about if you've got a skill that somehow applies? Can you factor that into the power roll?
Yeah, you can apply a skill to the roll if it is directly related to the project.
So yeah, if you can find a way to justify it,
yeah,
spin it so that your director agrees. That makes sense.
And there's other factors. For example, if you don't know the language of the project source, like you're trying to read a blueprint, but it's not in a language that you're familiar with. But if you know a related language, you can take a bane. Okay, so you don't know the language, but you know one that's closely related to it, take a bang. If you don't know any related languages, you don't have a clue what this thing says,
Right.
It's going to be a double bang.
Okay, pretty harsh penalty, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
The director can use a mechanic called project events to further complicate matters. Now, these are optional, but they could be helpful to heroes or impose new challenges. They're good for added drama, if that's what you're looking for. They come in the form of random tables, which I love, associated with each type of downtime project. So if it's a crafting project, you're going to see in the book a big table of crafting events that might occur, and the director could cherry pick from that or go for that random roll. Let's talk about projects specifically. They can range from building or repairing a road to imbuing a weapon or armor or an implement with magical enhancements, to researching forbidden knowledge or the cure for a disease. You've got tons of options here. Maybe your hero wants to go undercover, or maybe they want to go on a visit to some loved ones. Those are downtime projects.
Right.
Or maybe they simply want to train up a skill that they already possess, improve it. They could go that route. There are tons of options here, and really, there are some really nice role-playing cues baked in.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, and this is sort of a confession here, and I don't know if it's because I'm old or what the problem is, but as soon as I saw the rules for building or repairing a road, I was like, I really don't want to adventure. Like, I just want to repair roads and build forts and
put on your hard hat.
Yeah, I love this. Like this, I think this is what I need. I don't know. You guys go ahead and fight the monsters. I'm gonna hang out here and oversee the road repair.
You want to be the guy holding the slow and stop sign?
I wish our local community managers had the same enthusiasm over road repair as we do right now.
We could use some help with the roads here. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's stick with building or repairing roads. What might be some of those some of those project events that the director could throw out?
These are great. Like it had never occurred to me the things that could happen. I mean, sometimes it's really simple stuff. Like you find an old road, an ancient road that you weren't aware was even there, and it makes a great foundation. And so essentially it's gonna cut your time in half, right? Or the local population's so excited they decide to start helping you, and you actually end up getting some renown afterwards. Sometimes it's a bad thing. I know there was one where it says the road touches on a supernatural intersection, basically like multiple words.
Lines.
Yeah, it's a ley line. Yeah, and a powerful devil becomes interested in the completion of the project, and like he can make it go faster for you in exchange for a favor to be determined later. Or maybe a guild master doesn't want you to succeed. He has it out for you, and so he starts spreading lies about you and the work you're doing, and it hurts your reputation for a time. So
the default here is a D10 table with all of these rich, flavorful random events that could occur, and of course a good director could add on to this list. Sure. I mean, you could turn this into a much larger table if you want to put your energy in that direction. For the crafting and research projects, two different categories, but they share a massive D100 table. Like, here's a result after your project roll. How would you like this if you're this hero? You watch as any progress that you had made is reversed, as if the project were moving backward through time. So any character familiar with psionics recognizes what's happening here as a chrono anomaly. So the project is going to continue to lose progress until the hero stops the source of that anomaly. So again, there's an adventure hook baked into it. But that would be brutal, though, to watch the progress reverse. Maybe as a director, after they stop the anomaly, that progress is then restored. You can kind of give it back to them.
Yeah.
That's how I'd play it, I think.
Yeah. This feels like every DIY project that I have at home. So I just watch my assumed successes crumble and fall away.
Or it might be that you learn that there are several sages working on similar projects, and they've all disappeared. someone or something is abducting these experts for some nefarious purpose, right? Now the hero could be next. Again, that's just another hook that gets brought in.
I love it.
Yeah.
This is so much fun. It's just another element of play, and it's outside of the normal gameplay, but it makes everything feel much more rich and alive. It's a completely different aspect of your characters you might not have explored.
Right, and just more layers of narrative, more threads. I guarantee in the midst of a campaign, you're going to be able to make natural connections between what you have established in the narrative and some of these more chaotic events that sprout up. You can start connecting things and just enriching that narrative that you've got at the table. I'm excited about project events. Even though they're an optional feature, I would love a director to throw those in.
Oh yeah.
So again, we don't need to explore all of these. It's just a matter of knowing. It all boils down to there's a variety of different types of projects, different categories, and each of those has its own set of different events that could come into play. So we're going to move on then. Chapter 13 is all about rewards. In Draw Steel, rewards come in the form of treasure, titles, renown, followers, and wealth.
Loot and booty.
All the loots, right? Of course, as a hero, you're not necessarily concerned with being rewarded, right? Doing the good work is a reward unto itself.
Right. Yes.
But getting cool stuff is fun too. So treasures, we'll start there. These are described as supernatural items that heroes find or craft. They come in 4 different types. There are consumables. These are the most common. They might be potions, dusts, or some other item that can be used one time, and then they're gone. Trinkets are treasures with supernatural properties that never fade. Think like wondrous items, right? Worn items like boots, gloves, a cloak, jewelry, or maybe a bag that has magical properties. There are leveled treasures. They level up with you. The more powerful the hero wielding the item, the more powerful the item becomes. They're described as quasi-sentient and purpose-driven. This could be fun. If you carry more than 3 leveled treasures, they become jealous of one another and will fight for your attention, and you would risk losing certain items. The game does clarify that you can possess as many of these as you want, but if you are carrying more than 3, be careful. And then finally, artifacts, treasures of legendary power. They are capable of changing or reshaping the adventure, even the entire campaign. They are generally well guarded. These are kind of like items that heroes are questing for at maybe the upper level of an echelon before they advance to the next echelon. A special note on weapon and armor treasure. That treasure must have keywords that match the equipment of your kit for you to gain the benefit of that item, which makes sense. If your hero does not use a kit, you only gain the item's benefit if you have a feature that enables it. If a weapon has a damage bonus for melee abilities, you only apply that if your kit has a melee damage bonus. The same is true for ranged weapons. So kits along with treasure, that's how they're going to interact. Finally, bonuses to stamina or rolled damage don't stack. It's only the higher bonus that applies. Bonuses from consumables ignore this rule. Any special treasures that you want to call out?
It's a big list. I know the Imp's Tongue image.
I saw that.
That caught my attention. And I think when you use it, you have to lick it.
It becomes your tongue.
It becomes your tongue. Yeah, I think it lets you speak every language or something to that effect.
Let's see.
Up here, but
yeah, you can speak any language and understand any language spoken to you for 1 hour.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then after that, it says the tongue is absorbed into your body.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it is.
Becomes part of your essence.
Yeah. Ugh, it's pretty gross. I mean, some of the swords and weapons look really cool. The illustrations are neat.
And of course, all of these items come, they're rated, right? First echelon items, second echelon, they get more powerful. Other rewards come in the form of titles. Titles are earned through play, and each one has a unique requirement. It grants a new ability or other benefit. The book suggests that heroes, on average, win one title per echelon. Directors are encouraged to go outside the book to create custom titles tailored to specific player accomplishments and flesh out the game world, the organizations, locations. In your game, maybe these titles don't make perfect sense.
You know, it's interesting as I was going through this list, though. I was just thinking, like, you know, you could get the title even if, like, it really shouldn't apply to you. You know what I mean? Like for example, Ancient Lore Master. Wouldn't it be funny if the Fury just happened to stumble across the trove of forgotten books?
Right, that's the prereq.
And became known as the Ancient Lore Master, you know, Karg the Destroyer, you know, or something. I just thought it was kind of funny. You think of something like the Mage Hunter. Like, this almost feels like a character goal.
It says you defeat 3 leader or solo creatures who each have at least one ability with the magic keyword. There's one train of thought that says, you know, players shouldn't even have access to this information.
In this game, I feel like they should. It's so specific that it's almost like this would be my character goal. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be the Mage Hunter, right? So, hey, did that enemy leader, did she have an ability with the magic keyword?
Yeah.
She did. Cool. That's one. You know, like, I don't know. It could be a lot to keep up with because whether you're aware of it or not, you're working towards multiple titles.
Right.
At the same time, right? So, okay, you defeated that leader with the magic keyword. That's cool. But maybe at the same time, you were successfully performing a service for a powerful faction, which would be owed a favor, right? That's another title. It's like in a video game, this would be very simple. This is your achievement, you know, that gives you the title.
Right.
But in a tabletop game, I think it's a little harder to track.
And just because you have satisfied the prereqs for any of these titles, again, that does not mean that you just get that title.
Right.
You know, the director has to decide that, okay, you earned this. Because again, the book's advice is that you not overload a hero with titles.
Right.
Like, again, one per echelon on average, and that's about as far as you want to take it. I would like to see it just behind the screen. The director is just kind of tying any title that's given out more organically into the narrative.
And I'm with you. The problem is these aren't just flavor. There's some real crunch behind these.
That's true.
Like, there's some pretty nifty little bonuses and effects that you get as a player. If I was building a character, I think I would be eyeing these. I'd be like, man, all I got to do is, you know, defeat a creature, a leader or a solo creature with a reason score of -2, and I could get Monster Bane, and that's going to give me these different effects. Like, that would be really beneficial.
Yeah, and some of these then give you maybe a maneuver, like an action that you can use. So, again, that's going back to why you don't want to award too many of these.
Yeah.
Because they are going to further complicate an already very complicated character.
Yeah, I think this is a discussion that probably needs to happen session 0, like early on. Hey, you know, the director just spells out, this is how I'm going to handle it. Or maybe it goes the other way too in a session 0, where the player's like, hey, man, I'm really interested in the Monster Bane title. I think that'd be super cool for my character. So if you decide to throw that out there, you know, just I handle treasure the same way as a player. Like, a lot of times if I start a new campaign, I'll tell the DM, I'll give him a list and be like, hey, you do what you want. I don't expect any of these things.
Right.
But here's a list of 5 items that would be really cool for this character over the course of their career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just kind of spell it out.
And like on the flip side, some of the mystery and mysticism of role-playing games as a hero, you know, finding that treasure, that magic item, weapon, whatever it might be. And what does this do? Games are being written with a lot of player-facing information that used to be exclusive to a GM.
Right. Because I log into Baldur's Gate 3, right? And I see an enemy there. Well, I can go over, I can right-click on that enemy. Not only am I going to know every hit point it has, I can see every resistance it has. I can see what its immunities are. I can see all that information is front-facing because I'm expected to use that information to make my decisions. And so you're right. It's a very different approach because most DMs I've played with in the past, they would never tell you how many hit points a creature had. Maybe by round 3 or like even armor class. Like we're kind of coy with that, right?
Right.
Like, okay, finally. Okay, well, I'm looking for 16. That's what we're looking for.
Let's speed this up a bit. Yeah.
But you're right. It's a really different approach. It just depends.
Okay, let's move on to renown. Renown represents your influence, your ability to sway or intimidate NPCs, or maybe even to attract followers. So the higher the score, the greater impact, but you start at 0. Certain perks or downtime projects, even titles or other treasure can increase your renown, but generally you'll just gain it at the end of an adventure. Now, for every 3 renown, you can attract a follower. And followers come in different types. They are artisans, retainers, and sages, serving different functions.
Yeah, artisans, a crafting expert, can help with your projects. Retainers are basically heroic NPCs. So they're going to be more the companion type of a role. And then the sages, so basically research experts. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then finally, wealth. A wealth is an abstraction of how much money you have. Again, we're not counting coppers in draw steel, right? You simply just have a wealth rating, rated on a scale of 1 to 6. All right. So 1 is the low end. You can afford mundane gear. Mm-hmm. You can afford to stay at a common inn, but nothing nicer. But up to 6, you're living a wealthy lifestyle.
Right.
Your choice of career at creation might improve your wealth, though. Also, finding a substantial monetary treasure in your adventures will increase that wealth score. Your credit rating.
Yeah, I like it. We talked last week on the Thieves Cant rules that tend to be ignored.
Yeah.
And man, this is one. Like, I don't want to be the person that's holding the party coin. I just want, like, hey, I want to buy a spell scroll. Do we have enough money? So
right.
To be able to avoid that accounting, I'm all for it.
Yeah. All right. So when it comes time to make purchases, it will factor in your wealth rating. Now, at the director's discretion, you can make a purchase that is actually 1 above your wealth score, but then you will reduce your wealth score by 1 when you do that. That is going to do it for rewards, I think.
Yeah.
Which brings us to chapter 14, all about gods and religion. Just a little note at the top here. There's a lot of content here.
Yeah.
We're not going to dive into all of it, but what is here is really, really good. Mm-hmm. I liked this chapter much more than I expected to. I'm not the most patient when it comes to reading through a rule book. So anytime I get into heavy sections of lore, sometimes I get a little sleepy. But this was exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So the way this chapter breaks down, it starts off by, clarifying that in the default setting of Orden, the people believe the gods created the world, but the gods don't directly act upon it. They are forbidden from doing so, in fact. So instead, they use intermediaries, like demigods almost. They were once mortal, but now they serve their patron throughout all of eternity. They can manifest for short periods of time within the world, these intermediaries. So most humans are calling these figures saints. Other ancestries usually refer to them as heroes. So every god actually has many saints or heroes serving them. Mm-hmm. The chapter then goes on to highlight a handful of key religious aspects in Draw Steel. It provides more context for the conduit and censor classes. It examines the deities themselves, as well as the respective saints and heroes and their respective domains. I don't recall reading another RPG rule book that approaches material like this in the same way. This is a really good treatment of just the daily function of religion in the fantasy setting.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It gives you a good idea of how people really do regard the gods, these saints, how they interact with them.
It talks about churches and temples. In Orden, these are not consecrated to the gods. Instead, the people devote places of worship to the saints or the heroes, which makes sense. That goes back to the fact that the gods are forbidden to interact with the world. And it's interesting because there can be divisions within worshipers of the same saint. Mm-hmm. So not necessarily like unfriendly divisions, although they could be.
Right.
It just means that like there are different representations, different teachings that saint represents.
Different aspects of their personality.
Sure.
Yeah.
It talks about interspecies worship. There's some really great lore here, but it all boils down to your hero's ancestry does not determine who you worship. Mm-hmm. Like as the book says, there are human heroes in the elf pantheon, and there are dwarf saints in the human pantheon, and so on. That's kind of the general setup of the chapter. It then goes on to detail each of the major deities along with all of their saints and heroes. So we get a lot of lore on the deities, saints, heroes. So any of this stand out to you, Chris?
Obviously, a conduit or a censor is going to be much more interested in this whole chapter than perhaps some other players are.
That's fair.
Just the stories, the background is really nice. So assuming you're playing with that default setting, there's some great information here.
One thing that I wish the chapter had included, they give us the tables that tell us who the deities are, what their domains are. Same for the saints, who they are, like name and domain. I really wish they would have, even though interspecies worship is a thing, I really wish they would have in these tables for quick reference told us that, Val is the major elf deity.
Yes.
That would have been a nice addition to the table.
I agree. Also, it's worth noting that we have some of the time-space pantheon here as well. The space gods, I think.
If you want to get really weird.
Space gods of the timescape, that's it. And I think the creators had this in mind. Yes, you're reading all these things, but don't assume that everything you're reading is the absolute truth either. Seeing Colville in various interviews, he's pointed out that, yes, this is a truth, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the complete truth. So everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. With the space gods, for example, it says that very few people even know that these things exist or what they are. So you can read the information, but it doesn't mean that your character is necessarily going to be privy to any of that knowledge. So there's a lot of things in this chapter that it's really cool information. It's certainly useful information, but I would take a lot of it with a grain of salt.
As we wrap today, I want to remind you to join us later this week on our sister show, Thieves Cant. Next week on this show, Thieves Cant Capers, Chris, we are bringing this job to a close.
We're bringing it home.
We're going to take a look at Book One's final chapter entitled For the Director. So we're going to see what sort of GM advice Draw Steel offers. And since that places us squarely in director territory, why not go ahead and knock out Book 2, Monsters, which is all for the director as well. Plus, that'll end this caper on a nice round number. It'll be 10 episodes of Draw Steel. So
that's how we planned it.
Absolutely. From the start, right?
Yeah.
With that, we will see you next time to bring the Draw Steel job to a close. Thanks for listening, as always, again, at Thieves Cant Cast, thievescantcast@gmail.com if you want to reach out. We love to get that listener feedback. We will catch you next time. I'm Jeremy Shane.
And I'm Chris White.
It's been Thieves Cant Capers. So long.